Hello everybody, and welcome. This is the very first monthly video, well, any video really that I've done with the new binaural setup. So if you do not listen with headphones, you might not notice, but I have a new upgraded system where now we have sort of a binaural experience. What that means is that when I talk over here, you feel it in your ear, and then when I talk over here, you feel it in the other one. So do what you want, obviously, but something that to think about on this particular video series. This is the monthly wear series, and I do these unboxings, a lot of fragrance unboxings, and we talk about different fragrances from different brands, and the good ones, bad ones, and different, but a lot of times we don't actually get the chance to talk about whether they're good projection performance. So in these videos, we talk about all of that. We talk about whether fragrance is good, whether fragrance performed poorly, and if it got any kind of comments while I was wearing it. Let's proceed. Let's go forward. I tried to keep these in a particular order of when I wore them, but sometimes it's not specific. Okay, number one. For the house of Mancera, we have Azzaro Boise, and this is the intense version of Azzaro Boise. I definitely 100% unequivocally was not the biggest fan of this particular fragrance when I first got it. It just was not something I felt like I needed in my collection, and when I first sprayed it, I thought it was kind of not off-putting by any means, but just not something that was overly special and needed to be in my collection. But then it sat, and it sat, and it sat, and it sat, and in sitting, it really matured into something really nice. It definitely has a lot of that vibe from Creativentus, the birchiness, the fougere type of vibe, and because this is extract concentrations, also they're intense. So I don't care what anybody says. I love the cap. I love the cap, magnetic cap, plastic. It's just really good. This is Four Seasons fragrance, I think, and yeah, just really good fragrance. 6-7 hours, really good projection. Next, I got this fragrance, and when I first got it, I was pretty excited to try it. I thought that the fragrance was good, but it was definitely going to need to go on skin to really be able to tell if I was going to like it or not. And this is a clone from the house of Fragrance World. This is Imperium, and I know that this is not the highest quality of fragrance. One sort of telltale sign I can tell is, look at this. So I'm gonna shake it up. It's like a snow globe. You can see particles dancing around on the inside, or maybe you can't. I don't know. Let me see. Don't know if you can see that or not, but this particular fragrance is a clone of Roche Dove's Elixir, and the thing that I really like about this particular fragrance is it might not be dollars to donuts, but it's very close. I ordered Elixir, and we'll be getting Elixir this month, so I'll get to do a much more thorough dries down a little bit weird, a little bit salty, a little bit more cloying. But it does do a decent job. It lasts not great, 2 or 3 hours tops, but forget what I paid for this, something to the tune of $17, $18. It's like a no-brainer, so I was happy to have it. Next, we have another fragrance rum, and I actually really like this one. When I first tried it, and I couldn't wait to put it on skin. This is from their Star series. This is Starman Nebula. It's got this plastic. It doesn't necessarily scream high quality. Of course, it does have the same cap, but this one is ribbed there. It's a decent looking bottle, but at the end of the day, it's cheap. But so is the fragrance. I believe $17, $18. This is a clone of a discontinued fragrance by Thierry Mugler, and this is a clone of Pure Malt. I wore this. Projected great. Lasted a long time. I was really happy with this. And at the same time of being happy with this, I was also angry at L'Oreal, who bought Mugler and decided to get rid of all of the best fragrances that Mugler had. So this truly is a necessity if you want to experience pure malt. And of course, some people have the original, and some people are selling the original. But as a rule, you don't typically want to spray a discontinued fragrance. You kind of want to hold on to it for collectors' sake. Next, we have from the house of Tom Ford. We have Ugly Betty herself. We have Black Orchid Perfume. I'm sure once upon a time this was the belle of the ball, but it is ugly now. And it has chip paint, but this is a gorgeous, boozy, plum, bitter, and sweet type of fragrance. It's just, every time I smell this, I want to spray it. Don't judge a book by its cover, certainly. Black Orchid being the first fragrance that Tom Ford released. And if I even try to do taps with this, the gold actually flakes off. But this is a 6, 7, maybe even longer fragrance. Decent sillage, really strong performer. As ugly as it is as good of a performer as it was on my skin. Remember, this is my skin. Your miles may vary depending upon yours. These particular clones come from the house of Alexandria, and the first one is Fame 15. And Fame 15 is a clone. Come on, spray. There we go. It really does need skin to come out, but as a clone, you still kind of pick it up a little bit. I do like how they have the glass files even on the smaller guys. Of Bond number 9's Andy Warhol. Fun fact about Andy Warhol: this fragrance was discontinued because Bond number 9 didn't think it was a good idea to ask whoever's in charge of using Andy Warhol's likeness if they could even use it. was discontinued. So people love this fragrance. They talk about this fragrance. They review this fragrance, and I don't necessarily think that it's because of how good of a fragrance it is. It is good, but compared with other fragrances, it does not perform and project as well as other ones. I think it's just because it was flash fried in, out, fast. But it is a good fragrance. The next one, just totally and completely, and when I say completely, I mean it blew it literally off the map. A clone from the same house of God of Fire by Stephanie Humbert Lucas. This is a fruit citrus bomb, boom in your face. The projection that you get from this, the performance that you get from this is unbelievable. I prefer this type of fragrance compared to Pacific Chill and a lot of other heavy citrus. This is super fruity, but lies somewhere between something like Herbivora and Pacific Chill. It's not overly fruity, it's not overly sweet. It's somewhere in the middle, and the performance projection's insane. And as I said, I wore this on one hand, this on one hand, and by the time that the two actually got to come up and were performing as well as they were going to, I couldn't even smell this. This is all I could smell. This all that I could smell. So I definitely would recommend both of them, but understanding, of course, that one is going to way outperform the other. Now, this next one is a cheap fragrance, and that's not a bad thing. Two different things that seems to discredit you as a fragrance reviewer or just someone who likes fragrances, talks about fragrances, recommends fragrances, is fragrances that don't get talked about after a certain amount of time. Older fragrances and cheap fragrances. But there are older fragrances out there that are still really good, and there are cheap fragrances that are really good too, and this is one of them. This is Azzaro Sport. And this is actually my gym fragrance, and this is why I love this fragrance. It's not just a hit of bergamot and like cedar, like basically every single other gym fragrances. This has a little bit more depth, a little bit more complexity, and actually I can spray this 5 or 6 times, and 3 or 4 hours later I'll still smell it. It'll still be on me. So even though this is an Oud Wood concentration, it's still very good. 10-15 bucks. I mean, this literally get me kicked off of YouTube, provoke my frag card, but this is what I'm rocking right now for gym fragrance, and I really like it. Next, speaking of gym fragrances, this was a total accident. I did a video not long ago. We're talking about the best new Lattafa fragrances. I talked about this one. This is Tadioc Lattafa Gray fragrance, and I did not spray this on me. I still have yet to spray this on me. So it's not like direct application, but I sprayed it. I guess I did this. I sprayed it and put my arm out to try to get a whiff of it. Or maybe I put it on skin and then I put my sleeve down. I don't quite remember what I did in that one, but the next day I went to the gym and literally one spray of this got on my jacket that I was wearing that night. And I would say probably 20 hours later a fragrance if you want something boozy but sweet and seductive. This is like Camera and Black Orchid Perfume together. It's really amazing fragrance. Is it versatile? Absolutely not. Can you wear it to work? Probably not. Should you wear it to the gym? Absolutely not. But in the right settings, doing the right thing, putting it in the right area, wearing it the right way, it's an absolute stunner. And I can't believe more people aren't talking about it. It's an absolute sleeper. Okay. Next, occasionally I'll do this. I'll take a fragrance that I rag on a lot, and I'll test it again. I'll do the same thing with fragrances that I have historically liked, and I'll wear it again too, because times change, fragrances change, tastes change, nose changes. I will try the fragrance, and in trying the fragrance, either affirm that, yeah, I really do like this fragrance, or no, this fragrance is awful and I don't want anything more to do with it. And I did this with this guy. This is Loam. I rag on this guy a lot for being an absolute terrible, terrible, terrible performer. And I decided that I wanted to try it out. So it's got this plastic cap. Just using roll. I don't know why. Just cheap. Boozy look to it, so I knew that I would like it. And I will say this, it did not perform terribly, as I got probably 2 or 3 hours out of it, which, considering this is an Eau de Parfum, and considering this is a $80, $90, $100 fragrance, I was not super pleased with, but it wasn't as bad as what I thought. It's just not stunning. But is it the worst fragrance that I have in my collection? No, not by far. By a long shot, it is not. Next, we have from the house of Gaultier, the fragrance bottle that'll make you feel like an absolute pervert every time you hold on to it. It is Le Male Elixir. Now, when I first sprayed this, that was weak. Oh, that stings. Okay. When I first sprayed this, I was very underwhelmed. Very underwhelmed. And it's not because it was a bad fragrance. No. It wasn't that at all. It was this particular fragrance. It's an elixir, and elixirs as a whole don't really have a definition as to what they are, but it seems like the fragrance science community decided that all elixirs should basically just be a base of bourbon and vanilla, or bourbon vanilla. So this smells very similar to me, like myself. They perform a smell very similar to me as Stronger With You. So I wasn't blown away by it, but I decided to wear this out, and I wore it to the grocery store. When I sprayed this, I came down, the first person that I walked past, the first person stopped me and said, "Oh my goodness, what are you wearing?" I said, "You gotta be kidding me." I do this all the time. You wear something expensive, you wear something from a niche house, and then they stop you for Jean Paul Gaultier. And then I went to the grocery store, and it was a woman too. I feel like that's important. I was walking around the store, and something weird happened. I don't know. This could be totally unrelated. I thought it was certainly strange. I passed by this person, and they looked like I just slapped him in the face. They walked by like that. And I was like, keep walking. And I thought that was it. I passed them in an aisle, and then they followed me. They started following me. Again, this could be something totally different, but I know that they were like they would go into an aisle, and you look over and they're just staring at you, and then you make eye contact, like they're pretending that they're there for something else. I don't know if it was his fragrance. They just wanted to smell his fragrance again. I don't know what it was, but this made people react foolish. I mean, stupid around me, and that is amazing. So, is it my absolute favorite fragrance in the world? Is it a fragrance that I'm going to go back to over and over? I don't know, but it is an absolute compliment getter for sure. Very much sort of designed to be a compliment getter, and very much designed to be appealing towards women. Next, this one. This is from the House of Dua, and this is possibly my favorite variation of this fragrance. Is a Cola Fizz of tonka beans, and this, of course, is a fragrance clone of Tonka Cola. Now, this particular fragrance, very strong extrait concentration, and it's beautiful. I have Tonka Cola. I have Coke Zero by Alexandria. I like this one. I don't know if I like it the best, but I sprayed it. Boom, just twice. Projection, sillage was unbelievable, and I layered this with a vanilla fragrance. I wanted a vanilla fragrance to complete this. It smells like cherry Coke. I wanted a vanilla fragrance, so I went with this one. Spectre Ghost. This is a clone of Nichoné's Ani and Coke Zero by Alexandria. Recognized that there needs to be vanilla, but they put a vanilla bourbon note, and I did not like it. I thought I made it bitter, and it needs to be sweet. So I went with this. It was underwhelming, to say the least. I have Ani. I love Ani, but Ani is expensive, and it's not something that you necessarily want to get and use as a layering fragrance. That one wasn't great either, was it? Ghost Spectre. This is the right one, right? Or is this? This is the right one, is it not? Did I grab the wrong one? No, this is the right one. This is Ghost Wraith. Is Black Phantom. On the air, it's not giving me Ani vibes. I don't know why, because it's a pretty decent clone. But this being Eau de Parfum, and an immature Eau de Parfum has not matured or maturated yet, or macerated, whichever you want to call it. So it just got drowned out. Next time, maybe I'll wear Tonka Cola with Ani. It did not work out, but this is phenomenal. Word to orchestra practice, and I was very happy with it. It's perfect fragrances for me at orchestra, because heat brings out fragrance, and I play the violin, so naturally right here a lot of sweat build up, a lot of heat in my neck. Fragrance just sings. Next. We have a fragrance that I have already put a dent in. Believe it or not, that's kind of crazy. This is from Valentino, Uomo Intense. And this is a gorgeous iris leather fragrance. I was giving a presentation to around 40-50 people. It's a little nippy, not too nippy, but chocolate lab, who's usually much more of a fragrance snob than I am, came over, started smelling this, eyes lit up. So he also loves Valentino Uomo Intense. Is it going to get comment after comment after comment? No. Is it going to be compliment getting fragrance? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. But I can tell you this, on my skin, and in the right weather and in the right environment, it is one of the best fragrances that you can wear. It's an incredible, incredible fragrance. Iris and leather. Next, we have a fragrance that needs no introduction. I think I might have even worn this twice. This is Boss Bottled Elixir. This is your beautiful kind of incense, woodsy, masculine, lumberjack, winter type fragrance. I do believe that I might get a little nose blind to this after a little while, because either that or this fragrance only lasts for about 2 hours. I think it is the first one. I think I just get a little nose blind to it. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful fragrance. Definitely backup bottle worthy. I need a backup bottle of this. Trying to think about the occasion in which I wore this one. It's a masculine fragrance. Where did I wear this? I mean, I think it could have just been as simple as a trip to the post office or something like that. Really good fragrance, huh? I'm glad that's not a limited edition, and I'm glad that it performed so well, so I don't have to be afraid of it being discontinued, since it's always a concern with fragrances. Next, I wore this guy from the House of Alexandria. We have a couple. No, actually, yeah, this is a third. This is their fragrance. This is Suede Pineapple. I wore this. I wasn't around anybody who wore this. More out of interest. When I first sprayed this, I was like, this is a much less offensive leather fragrance. Always difficult wearing leather fragrances because they're not everyone's cup of tea, and you be around people you probably don't want to wear leather fragrances. So I was really excited to find this fragrance. I really wanted to put it on skin because leather sings when it hits the skin. Sprayed it on skin and it became super, super leathery. I was a little disappointed because I was like, this was kind of going to be non-leathery leather fragrance, as stupid as that sounds, but something that's a little bit more mass appealing, something that you can really take and run with, but it really did dry down to be very, very leathery. Still a good fragrance if you like leather. Something easily that Tom Ford would have come out with. Easily. Suede Pineapple. An original Alexandria scent. Up next, got these guys off to the side so I don't click and clang and hit the table and do all kinds of weird things. Next we have, from the House of Amouage Reflection Man. I really wanted us to test this guy out, and I actually tested it side by side with another fragrance, and that fragrance is Creed's Viking. I tested both of these side by side, and the reason why I did that, this and this actually have similar notes, but they could not smell more different when you hit the opening good job if it was not stupidly expensive. I would already have it. But it is stupidly expensive, so this will have to suffice for now. But both very good fragrances, I'd say. Both 4 or 5 hours. I wouldn't say one outperformed the other. They both did about the same. We got a couple more. Up next, we have one day I just wanted to grab something that was inoffensive, easy right there, and I was heading off to teach. And it's my first day back at school, and I said, you know what, let me just grab something simple and easy, and I grabbed this. The Oud Wood from Tommy Ford. I think this fragrance is definitely not an underdog fragrance. I think most people know about this fragrance, and I don't think people hate it. There's some people that love it, but I don't think you can necessarily hate this fragrance. You just indifferent or dislike it. It's signature scent worthy, but it's also not wham bam thank you ma'am, shut your mouth because your jaw is on the ground and flies are coming in. It's not that fragrance. It's not that fragrance. It is a good fragrance. I actually didn't get a whole lot of sleep, so I knew I was going to teach and probably lay down after that. So what I decided to do was spray clothes, and it performed okay. It really does need skin to come out, but with as much as I've worn this fragrance, I have never gotten anything that resembled like a compliment or anything on this. I just don't think it's that kind of fragrance, but easily 10-12 hours, the sillage is going to die down, obviously, but you'll still be smelling it. It's a good fragrance. And there's, we have a new one. I have not featured this on the channel yet. This is from the house of Duo. And this is a mashup, mix-up, whatever you want to call it. This is a mouthful. Imagine Poseidon chilling at the Pacific with Fire God. And this is a mashup of Imagination by Louis Vuitton. Poseidon, which is a Ventus, chilling at the Pacific is Pacific Chill. And Fire God is God of Fire 4 niche fragrances. 2 niche fragrances. Louis Vuitton, technically designer. As you can imagine, the Ventus completely gets lost in here. What a Ventus compared to these heavy hitters. Pacific Chill is such a heavy hitter. Imagination's pretty heavy hitter. And Fire God is the heaviest of hitters, so compared to these other fragrances, I mean, it really does get lost, but it's a good fragrance. It'll last 7-8 hours extra. And very citrus. Signature scent worthy. Nothing like it. It's not true. Lots of stuff like it, but nothing is it. And it was pretty good. I was impressed. $40 for a 1 ounce. I don't know if I was that impressed, but I didn't regret it, so I guess that says something. Next, I just wanted something to cheer me up. A nice day, pleasant day, feeling energetic. I wanted something that matched my mood, so I grabbed this. This is Eros Energy by Versace. This is a weird one. I dropped this so many times because this cap does not fit snugly. or should be able to, but don't. Really good fragrance. I like it a lot. Was it worth the $120 that I paid for it brand new? No. Is it worth the $60-$70 it's going for at the discounters? You probably. And that brings us to our last day. Finishing with a fragrance from the house of Alexandria. This is their version of Ocean. Excuse me. This is Apple Crumb. And Alexandria Fragrances are typically such amazing performers. Ocean is said to not be that great, and this is somewhere in between. It's copying a DNA that's not a huge mega projector, and so it does not have the typical Alexandria projection, but it's good. It's good. And this is a super gourmand, cinnamon-esque type gourmandy delight. In fact, there is a clone by Sensual Obsessions called Gourmand Delight, and it says it's Odron. It's a good way of explaining it. You'll be wearing it. You won't know you're wearing all this, and you'll catch a whiff of it. Very sensual, gorgeous fragrance, unisex fragrance, but it is not a powerhouse performer. If you're looking for a powerhouse performer, this ain't it. But a gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous gourmand fragrance. Okay. I want to continue on the tradition. Last time that I did this, I picked my top 3. If you are only going to get 3, which ones would I recommend to you? Number 1 is going to be Boss Bottled Elixir, and this is actually going to be I don't know if I should do numbers. Let's do this. My number 3 pick, Le Male Elixir. Is it my absolute favorite? No. Am I going to wear it every single day for the rest of my life? No. It's a little juvenile, a little bit. Fits the younger man better than the middle-aged or aging man, but very inoffensive fragrance. People like it. So that's number 3. My number two is going to be Valentino Uomo Intense. And I also could have chosen Starman. Starman was so good, I really enjoyed it. But this is a masculine fragrance. It's not mass appealing, but it's niche quality. And the recipe is also a little bit more unique for a designer, though. You could certainly say it mimics a lot of Dior Home DNA as well. And I think I forgot to do a noise comparison, as the Valentino bottles are amazing. I love Valentino bottles. Such a good fragrance. I will be sad looking at this during summer and spring, knowing that I can't wear this for a while. And then number 1 is gonna have to go to Boss Elixir. This is actually coming down in price, but it's worth every penny. And actually might be the least expensive option on this. I just love it. see you all